Ghost of Tsushima, which is a beautiful, amazing game, is here. It's one I've been personally waiting for quite a while, and I'm really stoked to talk about it. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 things Ghost of Tsushima doesn't tell you. Starting off at number 10, there's some really useful charms you get early in the game. Okay, so look for this shrine at the center southeast of the first island. It's called the Arrow Peak Shrine. There's a really good charm that can double the amount you'll collect in regards to supplies and crafting items. I mean, it's just crazy good, so get it as soon as you possibly can. It'll save you tons of time, tons of energy, and you'll be upgrading equipment way faster. Another handy charm you can get early is at the Mending Rock Shrine, which is east of Fort Nakayama, the place that you go in Sensei Isekawa's quest, the one where you get the bow and arrow. Like, finding the place isn't really too tough, but it is pretty out of the way, and the actual path, it's really roundabout. But the charm is worth it, because it makes you slowly recover health while you're not in combat. And considering you don't naturally recover health in the game, that's really, really handy. So do not sleep on these charms. They're absolute necessities. At number 9 is Bamboo Strikes. While exploring, you'll sometimes run into these little mini games called Bamboo Strikes. They're pretty basic, but they can be really frustratingly strict with their time limits. So here's a few tips to make finishing them just a bit easier. How it works is you need to put in the button inputs it shows on the screen as fast as possible. It is not a rhythm game thing, so don't think it is. You don't need to time anything properly. It doesn't matter. Just hit the correct button sequence as fast as you humanly can. If you're struggling, the actual order of button inputs is always the same for the specific bamboo strike you're doing. So if you're having a hard time remembering the inputs, just take a picture or write down the button order and look at that while you're doing the strike. Another option is to just turn on simplified controls in the accessibility menu, which removes the timer from these minigames entirely. Which again, we're always thankful for controls that make it possible for more people to play these games. Obviously, we want as many people playing these great games as possible. People buying is what justifies them making it. But hey, it also sometimes results in these little kind of hacks like this. And that's just something that I find very hard to be angry about. At number 8, you can actually learn stances quicker by either observing or killing Mongol leaders, usually found in Mongol territory, obviously. Basically amounts to outposts from the Far Cry games, but here in Ghost of Tsushima. Like, observing sounds kind of weird, but all you have to do is sneak up to a leader's location undetected and hold R2 while you're looking at them. That'll get you 1 point closer to unlocking a new stance. The cool thing is, if you also kill that leader, it gets you another point. They're usually either isolated or surrounded by enemies, so probably the easiest, best way to deal with that is after you observe them, just like initiate a standoff, which if it's successful, will kill them instantly. Basically, until you've got all the stances unlocked, it's a really good idea to sneak into a Mongol encampment, find the leader, observe them, then kill them. I know a lot of folks want to be the honorable samurai and just walk into an enemy camp, but if you sneak in first and do all this stuff I've been talking about, you'll be learning all the stances way faster. At number 7, use kunais for hunting. So kunai are pretty useful for combat encounters. They're helpful for taking care of archers. You can actually hit archers who are up high up if you focus on them before hitting R1. But do you want to know what they're really useful for? It's hunting. Yes, a very easy source of money, especially early on, is to just sell predator hides to trappers, and you also need these hides in order to upgrade the amount of tools and arrows you can carry at any given time. So they're really good to have. The problem is hunting animals like boars and bears is also pretty annoying to fight up close, especially bears. But boars can be annoying because they tend to flee if you pull out a bow at all or try to attack them from horseback. So easiest solution is to throw kunai at them. Kunai are also surprisingly powerful. It'll kill a boar in 1 hit, and you can take down a bear in 2 or 3. Remember, you throw 2 kunai at once by default, so basically you could kill 2 boars with basically no effort and get a pretty decent amount of predator hides that way. Another bonus to all this is that kunai are fairly common drops from enemies, so usually pretty stocked up. You just throw a few every time you see a predator around, and you'll easily load up on a ton of hides, which you can use to carry even more kunai or arrows or whatever else you want to carry more of. And you can sell it, get tons of money. Aren't you the enterprising young samurai? At number 6 is some combat tips that they don't share with you. Combat is quick and brutal in this game, even on normal difficulty. So here's a few tips and tricks to make things a little easier. For one, archers are the absolute worst. Try to take them out first when you can, or yeah, they're gonna shoot arrows at you the whole battle. The best way to avoid arrows is to listen for the archers yell. They always shout about 2 or 3 seconds before they fire an arrow, which, weird choice, but get used to the timing and you'll avoid damage. Because of that delay, you don't dodge immediately when you hear a yell. You wait a second and then you dodge, and of course, yay, done. All this can be made even easier by unlocking the ability to just flat out block arrows, which is of course really helpful, especially if you can do it earlier when you don't have a lot of health to work with and you've got crappy armor. It doesn't make archers not annoying though. Also, if you want to go in a fight with full resolve for healing and other skills, just instigate a standoff. If you win, you'll get full resolve to deal with the rest of the enemies in the camp. To go along with that, finishing off a down enemy gives you a point of resolve, so if you're already full, be sure to heal before going around to end their suffering, and you end up looking pretty badass too. And for players struggling to get a beat on enemies during combat, something that might help is to go into options and switch the camera speed from default to fast. There's no lock-on in this game and you're using a controller, so turning up the speed on the camera might make it a lot easier to keep an eye on all the enemies. And again, fighting can get kind of hectic, so it does help. At number 5 is stealth tips. If you spend any amount of time in this game, you are aware that stealth is really powerful. It doesn't take much to be able to completely clear a Mongol camp. Frankly, it's also a little unsatisfying to use stealth as opposed to the awesome and challenging combat system, but if you want to just annihilate your enemies, you can. Here's a few ways how. There's really only 2 techniques that are absolutely essential for stealth play: the chain assassination kills and the wind chime ghost weapon. The chain assassination is, it's self-explanatory. The name pretty much tells you. The wind chime doesn't necessarily sound useful at first glance. It's basically the rock from Far Cry, and you have to unlock it. It's just not flashy compared to the other ghost weapons, but believe me, it's crazy powerful. What makes it so good is the fact that you can specifically only draw the attention of one enemy at a time, and that pretty much works perfectly. If you throw it at a spot, it's pretty much guaranteed that the enemy will go exactly where you want them to. Frankly, it's almost too powerful. The only downside is that you don't have unlimited ammo. And that's really it. Stealth is pretty simple in this game. There's a couple of complications, but nothing major. You've got really good detection powers. Most of the enemies in camps like to stare at walls, and that's on top of their pretty dumb AI anyways, and if you got the wind chime, it's pretty easy to run circles around them, quite frankly. At number 4, the bow and arrow is very, very good. It can't be understated how powerful the bow and arrow can be if used properly. At first, it might not even seem that useful, but if you get the concentration skill and the next 2 skills in the archery tree, you will very quickly realize how overpowered the arrows actually are. Now, you're not going to be all powerful at first or anything, so don't expect to grab the arrows and become God. You'll need to get a better bow or upgrade your starting bow, because that starter bow is... it might even trick you into thinking that bow and arrow sucks. It's that weak. Still, upping the damage a little combined with the concentration skill, which lets you slow down time while aiming, suddenly turns the bow from situationally useful to perhaps the best weapon in the arsenal. Once you've got all the necessary improvements, you can just mow down scores of enemies that would otherwise give you a hard time, and that's that. Done. Hell, bows are just as useful, if not even more so, on hard difficulty. Fighting can be really tough in this game, but it's not so bad if enemies can't get anywhere near you without dying. At number 3, follow the birds. Occasionally while you're wandering around, you might see these yellow birds flying. You'll want to keep an eye out for them because they can lead you to some pretty nice stuff. Now, most of the time, they just lead to standard things like hot springs or some random collectibles, but sometimes if you follow them, they'll lead you to completely unmarked locations where there's a unique piece of apparel or something. They're just sitting out in the open world, completely unmarked on the map. Basically, the only way you're going to find this stuff is by following these golden birds. Or an accident. An accident could happen. Sometimes, they take you to something lame, like one of 50 identical banners, but sometimes you'll get something pretty cool and unique, so in general, they're pretty worth following. Also, if you're the adventurous type, the whimsy of following the birds to an adventure might attract you. At number 2, kick plus arrow plus sticky bomb equals easy mode. You want an overpowered combo? Here is an easy one. Kick an enemy, shoot him with an arrow to stun him, and finish him off with a sticky bomb. This combo can be pretty much done to anything the game throws at you, and it will deal with it in an incredibly powerful fashion, and it's not that hard to pull off, honestly. The only issue is that there's a couple of prerequisites. You'll need Wind Stance, which has the Typhoon Kick move and the Sticky Bomb, which is a ghost weapon you can unlock after raising your legend rank. Normally, I wouldn't recommend getting the Sticky Bomb first. Like, I think the other ghost weapons basically have more practical utility. But if you just want to get into combat and don't care a lot about stealth, then it's fine as your first, or, well, second after the kunai, which you have to get ghost weapon. Once you've got both techniques unlocked, you're free to go to town. It's pretty simple, too. Kick them, shoot them, tag them with the Sticky Bomb. 9 times out of 10, that's it. They're done. And at number 1, try bowing. You might not realize it, but when you swipe down on the touchpad, Jin will bow down. You might think this is just something you can do for taking pictures or whatever, but sometimes bowing can make things actually happen. Like here, if you bow in front of this dead samurai, you'll get a little bonus dialogue, or here, where you bow in front of this frog statue, something very weird happens. Basically, if you see something interesting, try to bow in front of it. Can't guarantee it's going to give you something, but hey, again, things happen. And that's all for today. How are you liking the game? I am enjoying it. Ghost of Tsushima, pretty sweet. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think though. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe, and don't forget to enable all notifications. As always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.